Ashley.
And I'm Ethan.
And welcome to Game on Board Game, a channel where we talk about board games and do fun games and challenges based on our love for them.
Today we're going to be talking about all the games we played in the month of January. But there's a little bit more to it than that. Earlier this year we filmed a challenge where we talked about wanting to play our entire board game collection throughout the course of 2025. We also mentioned how we were going to be doing these sort of like monthly recap videos to track our progress. Make sure to check out the vid if you haven't, or you might be a little lost. We laid out all the rules and how we're planning to approach it and stuff like that. And so we want the format for these recaps that we're going to do to be a little looser, just kind of more like a free-form, long-form discussion. Obviously, mostly we're geared towards doing kind of silly challenges, and this is more just our chance to kind of just talk about games, you know. So, in January, we played a total of 16 different games from our list, right?
Unique games, yes. Some of them we played more than once.
We're starting at 135, so that leaves for the rest of the year we've got 119 more to go, I think. So I guess before we get into the specific games, how do we feel about that as far as a gaming month, you know?
I think that was pretty good, actually. Especially since, we kind of said we wanted to do around, 11, 12 a month, right? So we're a little above that, which is good.
Pure numbers wise, it broke down to 11.25 per month that needed to get done.
Right. Yeah. So we're a little ahead, which is good. I'm sure there'll be months where it'll be a little bit, less. And, February's obviously a shorter month, so that might give us a couple less.
I guess, obviously, if you're just looking at the numbers, 16 versus 11 feels like a good accomplishment. It's a little lower than I was expecting, though, just because it is, the beginning of the year. I kind of looked at this how most people, would do New Year's resolutions, where it's you come out of the gate really strong, blow it out of the water, and then as time goes on, you kind of lose the momentum and stuff. I figured we would knock a bunch out at first, kind of use that in case things come up throughout the year and we have a lower month, we've got some padding. And we have a little bit of it, but not kind of as much as I was anticipating or hoping for.
I think this is good, though. I think if we just stay steady, we'll be in good shape. So we just got to keep up with it.
My other concern, though, is that I think a lot of what we played this month was kind of low-hanging fruit overall. There wasn't... We'll get into this more when we go through the games, but there wasn't a heavy hitter or something, There's some games that are just going to be harder to get to the table because either they take a really long time to play, or we need a specific player count, or certain conditions or something, and it would be nice, I think, to at least get one of those crossed off every month. Now, this month we did have some new ones.
Right. So I was actually thinking that that's not correct. And I think we did have some heavier games that are ones that we've never played before. So we had to learn them. So, I think that was good.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we will have months where we're going to just play games we already know, which is that's much easier, right? If you already know the game, you don't have to learn it. We actually played a lot of new to us games.
But we still have a lot of other new to us ones, or ones that we haven't played in long enough that it's basically going to be learning it new. Yeah. So, but overall, despite these couple caveats, I do think this was a successful month, and I also think this was a busy month for us. We had a lot going on. Even getting this channel up and running has eaten into a lot of free time that could otherwise be spent playing games, and Ashley was under the weather for a good chunk of the month, just not really feeling up to doing a ton. So overall, pretty good accomplishment. And that being said, even a lot of what we do have is button shy games that you just played
by
solo,
myself, yeah.
So you definitely contributed still.
Oh,
probably more than me even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, for each of these games, like I mentioned, it's a pretty free-form discussion, so maybe we'll give a little overview of what the game is, but these are not meant to be full reviews or play
or how-tos.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's really just our experience, any sort of thoughts, ideas, just basically whatever kind of tangent comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about first?
All right, so I was thinking, since you mentioned button shies, we might as well jump into that in case people don't know what button shies are. So button shy games are 18 card games that are extremely portable. You can just put them in your pocket, your purse, whatever, bring them with you anywhere you go. We have a bunch of button shies that we have played before and that I've had for a while. I'm definitely more into button shies than Ethan is. And we also have a bunch that I got for Christmas that were brand new to us too. So this month I played 2 that I have played before and 2 that were brand new. So the first one that I played was Numpsters. Ethan did not play this one this month, although he has played Numpsters in the past.
Right.
So Numpsters is probably my favorite button shy, although there's a new one that might be hitting the big competition for
I
this
think
one.
of Numpsters as like the de facto button shy game.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So basically the main idea is there's a bunch of numbers. You have 7 cards in your hand, including an 8, and each number wants to eat the bigger number. So it's like 7, 8, 9. 8 is the number that you're trying to not get to be on top. If it ends up on top, then you lose the game. So I actually played this a couple times this month, and I just love this one. It's so easy to pull out. It's fast. It's quick. And I really enjoy this one.
Did you win?
I don't think I did win. This one's really, really difficult to win. I think I've won maybe twice ever, and I've played it probably at least 30 times, if not more. Probably way more than that, honestly. It's so fast and easy, and the other thing I love about this one is that you can play it in your hand.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, most of the other ones are like, you have to have table space. I mean, button shies inherently, because they're small, like they don't take up a lot of table space at all. Like you could do it on, you know, an airplane tray table or whatever, but Numpsters is great because you can do it mostly in your hand. You can play it on the table, but I usually do play it in my hand, so I've played it at the doctor's office while I'm sitting in the waiting room, or, you know, just wherever when I'm sitting around in a meeting or whatever, just sort of waiting for, you know, my turn to speak.
There are a million button shy games out there, and I don't know of another one that's like that. That's just in your hand. I'd imagine that there are, but like, if you know, please tell us.
Yes,
I think that's like a really cool aspect of that one.
Yeah, we really, really love that one.
Go for it.
So the next one that I played was Rove, and this one I played it a while ago, and then I really hadn't touched it for a while, and then I actually played it again recently and just sort of rediscovered that I like this game. So this one is interesting. You have like this, it's a results-orientated versatile explorer, so it's essentially like this little machine that you're moving around in like space, basically. And each of them have to them follow, like, you have to get them to create a certain pattern, essentially. So you're trying to get them to make a certain pattern. They each have different rules and different ways that they move. And this one I did beat, but this one is also very challenging to win as well. So, and again, like this one, I just played. Ethan has played it before, right? Have you played this one?
Yep. So the button shies we have are probably mostly solo, or maybe like 50-50 solo and like 2-player style. So obviously the 2-player ones we play together, but actually, as you mentioned at the beginning, this is more of your thing. Rove is one that I've tried once or twice on my own, though, just because I've heard like people really, really like that. Yeah, it's cool.
It's a good one, yeah. And it's very like puzzly, which is a lot of fun. The next one that we played together, and this is a brand new one, is the Family Dinner. So this one is a role-playing game where you are having a family dinner, essentially, and you are eating certain foods and bringing certain foods with you.
And sharing like memories from
your past and creating a character. This one, I feel like we were both a little bit let down, but I wonder if it would have been better with more people. We only played with the 2 of us, and you can play with 2 players. But I do think like we're missing the story aspect of it. It's like 2 to 6 players, so I do think having more players would have been better for this one.
That could be. My thoughts on this one are, it had been on your like want list for a while, and I kind of honestly wonder like, what were you thinking with this one? Because it's like it's a role playing game, which is not something that like we really do. It is outside of our wheelhouse. Well, that's
partly like why I was interested in it, though, because I like trying new and different experiences, and like we don't really have role playing games, so
that's not an area that I feel much affinity for. But I tried to give this game like a good, honest try, and even when we were doing it, I feel like I was getting into it. I was the one that was like doing voices and trying to make a whole experience out of it and stuff. So,
I think
gave it a good college try, but it's just like not my thing at all. So I do wonder, like, I don't know why.
If we'll like it again, playing it another time or something. Yeah.
Or if that'll even happen, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's just not.
It was a very unique one. It was different. I think that was also something that like, it's just very neat about button shies is that they can play so differently. It's 18 cards, right? And it's just a completely different game depending on like what they roll out with it.
There are some that's like a legacy game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or stuff like that.
Exactly.
So it is cool. I admire the creativity. But I also just think that like that was more of like an experience than like a game as well.
Yeah.
Right. So like you mentioned that, and that is a cool thing about them, but it's not what I'm looking for. And
Sure.
yeah, not an experience that I get a lot out of. So, but this last one,
Yeah, so the last one that we played, the last Button Shy that we played was The Last Lighthouse, and this is also a solo game. So I actually played it by myself first several times. Yeah. The directions on Button Shies leave something to be desired. And like if you look up like Button Shies or how to play them, like more often than not, yeah, the directions are not great. They're short, but like they definitely could include more detail. So I played it and I beat it incorrectly, but then like Ethan and I sort of played it. So he played, but I sort of like helped.
Yeah.
And then we realized that we were playing it wrong.
you like taught it to me,
Yeah.
kind of in a playthrough as I was doing it, and a couple things just seemed like that doesn't seem right, and we double checked rules, and I think played it correctly that
Yeah, I think
around.
so.
Right.
So the main idea of this one
was cool.
it's really, really neat. Yeah. So you have a lighthouse, and essentially you want to keep your lighthouse lit. So there are
Nightmares, is that what they're
yes, nightmares and oh my gosh, traps. Nightmares and traps.
Okay.
Okay, so what we want to do is you want to keep the lighthouse lit the entire time. The nightmares are essentially trying to like put the lighthouse out, and you're trying to set up traps to like capture the nightmares. At the end, you want to just make sure that the lighthouse is lit, and if you have 4 nightmares in a row, you lose basically.
So it's like tower defense
Yeah.
as a thing, which
Yeah.
again, a unique take from an 18 card
18 card
deck,
game.
right?
Yeah. This one like is already one of my favorites. Like I really, really loved this one. I've played it several times since I played it the first time, and I would highly, highly recommend this one. Yeah.
I would be surprised still if I end up pulling like any of these out
Sure.
on my own that often. Any of the solo ones, I should say, at least. But this, I do think like maybe it's newness, excitement, recency bias, but better than Rove for me probably.
Yeah.
So, and like I mentioned, that's basically the only one that I ever have tried. So
Yeah. Something
We'll
else
see.
that is really neat. So we also have Tides, which is another button shy game where you like flip the cards a certain direction depending on what direction they're facing. That's like what action is being triggered.
Yeah.
So this plays similarly where if it's facing one way, you're playing a nightmare. If you're facing the other way, it's a trap, and you like switch them back and forth from one to the other as you're playing, which is really, I think, a unique thing for an 18 card
Yeah,
game.
they get different modes out of the card, so it's like
Yeah.
they have a little bit more space to work with than what's really there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, highly, highly recommend it. I absolutely loved it. It was a great one. Only thing I would say is just the directions were not great. So, and again, like that's kind of typical of button shies. I still love them, and I have a bunch of them, but
Compared to some real rough directions we've come across, I don't actually think that this one was that bad. I think this was
Right.
more
This-
on you, honestly.
oh, great,
Like,
thanks. Well, I
reading
don't know.
comprehension skills.
Well, the way it was worded
I didn't
was
mean
a
it
little
like that. I
confusing.
just, yeah.
Yeah. So,
All right. Well, where to next?
do you want to keep going like small to big here?
I guess so.
that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So we also played Sea Salt and Paper.
This was our last play of the month.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we rounded it out with that.
Yeah. And we played Sea Salt and Paper several times before. This is not a new game to us. I feel like this is a game. So here.
Hot takes incoming, people.
Hot take incoming. So here, let me describe it first. So the idea is that you're trying to essentially get the most points. So you're trying to build like different sets of things. So there's different like sea animals. So there's like crabs, or there's boats, or there's anchors. Octopuses, whatever the word is for that. But anyway, you're trying to like get different sets of them. Some of them stay in your hand, so like the other people can't see it. Some of them go down and have different effects. And you're trying to get the most points. You're trying to essentially race to get to 40 points. I love the artwork of this game. Like I really love it's origami themed, but it's like marine world. And I love like ocean things, so that's totally up my alley. I feel like we do not get the hype of this one. Like this one was just so hot for so long, and everyone was just like,
At
you
least
have to play this game.
among a lot of the people we like to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just such a huge game. I don't think it's a bad game by any means. Like I think we both like it okay. I think we just aren't like, oh my god, this is the best game that's come out in so many years or whatever.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. But I don't know if it's just this game specifically for me either, or that I just maybe have a bit of a bias against like small box card games.
See, I don't think that's my case. Like, I do love small box card games, but I just think, I don't know. I also like, I come from a family of like trick taking games too, so I don't know if it's just, there's a lot
I
of
need
other
to say
games
more
I play
about that
like
though, because I just blew people's minds. Because people love small box card games. They like give that like, that's a headline, you know, as if like that's a reason alone to play it. Like, this is a great small box card game, and that gets people interested in stuff. And for whatever reason, that is something that just doesn't like resonate with me. I don't mind those games. We certainly have some that have been good to us over the years and that I like, you know, more than this one even. But that's not like, I'm never reaching for that. It's not a gaming experience, I guess, that I find super fulfilling. Like, they have their place within a collection. They have their place within like game nights, like sometimes when you need something quicker and easier. But I don't know. I guess when I think about like gaming or what I really get out of this hobby and enjoy and keep going back to it, it's like a more full
like
type of experience. Games. Yeah, that these ones just, I don't know. And so even out of those, sea salt and paper, like, yeah, why is this the one that was the hotness for like a year or two or something? I don't know about this in particular, but I also just am willing to acknowledge that maybe I'm really missing something that appeals to people in general.
Sure.
So.
Well, and again, it's not that we don't like it. It's just, it's like.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's a good game. It's just not like, it didn't blow our minds when we played it. We kind of expected it to.
We're never playing it just like over and over and over again or something. You know, like, I don't know.
We'll pull it out, play it once or twice, and then we're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
I think Ethan's also just really stuck on, we played the only one time that we played it with more than just the two of us was not a good experience for him, because
I don't think that's impacting my feelings on it though.
Well, when we did play it with someone, he lost tremendously because they kept giving me all the cards that I needed, which he wasn't such a fan of.
Yeah, that's fine.
But anyway, yeah, so we played Sea Salt and Paper. I think like playing it again, like I do like it. It's just, yeah, I don't know that we're like, that's the best small box card game we've ever played.
It's like a C for me, which honestly like isn't bad. Like, that is a fine game, but it's just like, it's definitely on the lower side, not something I'm going to reach for. So
it might be like a B for me, but yeah, not higher than that for sure. Okay, so next one, do you want to talk about this one?
Sure. Final Girl. So we had some debate about whether to like include this in this month or not, because so far I've been the only one to play Final Girl in 2025. Although Ashley did play this set right around Christmas of last year.
Literally days before.
Yeah. But it is a solo game, which we said, you know, as long as like one person's getting a solo game, just like Ashley and her buttons tries. So I really love Final Girl, especially recently. You know, we've had a few sets for a while, but it has just been like rising and rising and rising in my estimation over the past 6 months or so, probably. And it's probably my most played game during that like time frame. This is a set that obviously is Christmas themed, which was cool, and we did get it like shortly before the holidays. I think we got it on like a Black Friday like Christmas sale or something.
Yeah, this one's the North Pole Nightmare.
And you had been wanting some Christmas themed games just in general, because there is kind of a shortage of those in the hobby, it feels like.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is a theme, like, wouldn't have been one for me that is like super eye-catching necessarily. But gameplay wise, it's pretty cool because it's one of the more straightforward ones, I would say. Not a lot of different rules to the killer or location, although there is a rule with the location that makes me not like it, because it like really messes with my play style. You know how like this has a rule, if you don't know Final Girl, I should say, this won't make any sense to you.
I think you should describe what Final Girl is first.
I can't do that, go for it.
Okay. So
it's a solo only game.
Yeah, so the idea
of
Final Girl
horror movie tropes
is,
apparently I can do it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so Final Girl is a solo only game where you're essentially playing as a final girl in a horror movie. There is some sort of villain that you're trying to beat and play against. The villain is trying to attack all of the victims in a certain location. So, and the locations are themed around whatever the theme is of that box. Each of the boxes are based on a feature film. They have different names, but they're essentially spin-offs of scary movie tropes that are out there. So
Legally distinct spin-offs.
Legally distinct spin-offs.
So
exactly.
the killer in this one is Krampus.
Yes. And
Bad Santa.
there's an elf and there's Mrs. Claus that you're playing with as the final girls for this one.
So the rule I was going to talk about is when you move into a space with any victims, because in this, the victims are elves from the North Pole or annoying little mischievous, busybodies, you have to spend 1 time for each victim in that location. So, like, trying to save people, or even just trying to move around the map to do anything, like, really eats away at your time and makes it a lot harder to, like, buy cards. And I love buying cards. Like, that is a big part of it is, what I enjoy about this game, I think, is that, like, hand management and cycling through different things, round over round. So, I don't think it's, like, that hard of a set to win, but for the way that I like to play, feeling like I'm always being cut off of, like, certain card options to buy, does make it a lot more challenging to me. So I've played it like 3 times now. And I've only won 1 of those, which we usually do pretty okay at Final Girl, And I wouldn't attribute it to that rule in particular, like losing the time, but it did make me really kind of take a different approach strategy-wise, which I suppose is a good thing when you have a bunch of different feature films. It giving you options for what type of experience you want, like, is cool.
Yeah, and
boy, is
something
that just so frustrating, guys. These elves, like, they really are annoying. In the rules, it even says, like, something about, you know how elves are, like, annoying little guys, and it's like, you're right.
Something that's also really unique about this game is that you can play any location against any of the villains. You can also, the killers, you can play any of the final girls against that killer. So once you kind of like open them up, you can play any of them against any of them. We actually don't do that. We usually do kind of keep it within the story, but like theoretically I could play like Mrs. Claus against Geppetto.
It's a nice option to have, but I've played most films 3 or 4 times and not felt like there was any issue about enough variability or replayability. Yeah. So like maybe someday.
But it's neat that the system like allows for that, and that the system is familiar. So like you get another feature film and like there are different twists on them, but it is so familiar, and that the killer and the location are so unique that they could be split up and it doesn't matter. They don't have to go together.
It's an amazing game design feat.
It is,
that they can make them interchangeable and all still works and is functional. But thematically, I think you just get into some weird territory when you're putting, I don't know, Dr. Fright, aka Nightmare on Elm Street in the North Pole or something like that instead.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's kind of fun. So I do think like I will probably, I'm sure I will play this one this year, but yeah, we kind of counted this, especially because I had literally just played it in December, like the last couple days of December. So at least one of us has played that one. The next one that we're going to talk about is Three Sisters. This is probably one of my all-time favorite games. It is a roll and write game where you're essentially building a garden, and you're doing different actions in that garden, and it is very
combo heavy.
Yes, very. So you're like growing pumpkins and little peas and corn, right? I think it's corn.
Beans, I think, is the third one. Pumpkins, beans, corn.
Yeah, and you're trying to...
Which is a real gardening thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is based on science.
And you're watering them, and you're, like, helping them grow, and then, like, the more things that you're growing, like, the better. And then you can also plant fruit and harvest the fruit and things like that. I love this game. I absolutely love, like, the artwork of it. I love the theme of it. And I just... The combo-iness, right?
Nailed it.
Okay. I don't know. It really tickles my brain. I think a lot of people like don't love that aspect because it's a lot to track, but I just like, I love just going off and having like one action create all of these spiral actions off of it.
Yeah.
It's super fun. I also tend to win because I play this a lot and I absolutely
You don't play it
one.
solo as much as I would think though.
I have
it does
played
have
it
the
solo.
mode where you play against Farmer Edith, the AI character or whatever.
I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
It's okay, but I definitely enjoy playing like
it's just
with
weird
someone
because
else.
like this or most roll and writes are already such solo type experiences. Like it's not like we're interacting with each other. It's like, why is it different if I'm sitting at the table next to you doing it versus you're just playing against the game?
True. This one's...
I wouldn't think it changes.
I would actually say this one's actually pretty good because she's just covering certain actions.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's pretty similar in gameplay, but love this game. It's great. It's one of my favorites.
It's a good one. Roll and writes are not my jam in particular. This is probably my favorite, or at least up there. It definitely was my favorite that we have for quite a while, but it's just we have played it so much. I'm a little like ready to move on at this point. Not like permanently, don't get worried or anything. I'm just saying, like,
Better not be.
I'd rather try some of the newer ones more often than not.
There's also an expansion coming out soon, which I am sure I will be getting. So
yeah, but this is a good one, and I think it's on the heavier end, but not like so crazy.
Yeah,
as far as roll and rights go. So.
I also just think it makes sense. Like, it's one of those games where you're like, okay, yeah, you have to plant the crops and then you have to water them, and have a rain where they get watered. So, I don't know. I like when games make sense and they just kind of flow together, too.
You definitely have an edge over me in this one. Like, it's very rare, if ever, that I beat you at it, which I don't think, like, impacts my enjoyment or anything, but, like, you get a lot of satisfaction out of doing all that combo kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just different types of stuff that games offer that tickle my brain more. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't strive super hard to, like, eke out all the value possible every single move. I kind of just, like, pick a strategy, or like in this you have to buy like items from the shed, and that every time I'll just like see what happens if I do this item and just kind of roll the dice and go with it. So
yeah, I often like walk in with a strategy, and sometimes I'll try different strategies to see like what happens with those. But yeah, it's a great game. I love it. It's small, easy, and it's fairly quick.
All right, here next, Thanos Rising, different kind of game.
I feel like this is a game that I've like never heard anybody talk about, basically, like at all. I love this game. I really enjoy this game. So the main idea is you have like Thanos and all of his like minions that are trying to essentially take over the world. He's trying to get the Infinity Stones, and if he gets all the Infinity Stones, then you lose, basically. So you're playing as the Avengers, and you pick a team like captain, essentially, who is your hero, and there's 4 different options. There's like Captain America, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Gamora. And they all have different like affinities for things. There's different colors and symbols, and it's a dice rolling game. So you roll dice based on like how many dice you have available to you based on your heroes. So the more people you add to your team, the more dice you get, the more different actions you can take. And so you're trying to sort of balance between like, do I want to get more heroes to add to my team, or do I want to take out the villains to try to end the game? Also, if you have 10 heroes die because they get too much like hit points on them, essentially, you lose the game that way. So there's several different ways to lose the game. The only way to win the game is to defeat as many villains as you decide to for that round. This is one that we played a lot.
This is probably one of the first games we got within the first 10 or 20, I would think, actually.
Yeah.
I think we just got it at like Target. So it might feel like just sort of, like a department store type game or whatever you would call that, like a mass market one, but it's not. It is like a gamer game. Mm-hmm. And it's never been like super favorite of mine. The Marvel theme doesn't really speak to me. I don't always like love the luck of the dice with the dice chucker kind of thing like this.
He has the worst luck with dice.
But that being said, I really do think that we don't have anything else like this.
Yeah, it's very unique.
And so, even though it's not my favorite, it's also never been like bottom of my list of like, why do we have this? I don't want to play this. We pull it out probably like twice a year on average, and it does give it a unique experience. So like for that, I think, it deserves a spot, and I'm happy to see it when it does come out.
But I love this one. It's also just like, it's an easy one to pull out. We can play it like, a lot of games are like big and they take up a lot of table space. This one I would say does take up a decent amount, but like we can play it at our coffee table.
Build up your team. Yeah. With like 10 different cards laid out in front of you with a bunch of tokens on them and stuff.
Yeah. But it's just really fun. I love this game. I kind of wish more people talked about it, honestly, but it's an enjoyable, fun, kind of easy game. And we don't really have a lot of like primarily dice games. And this one is just a straight up dice game. So yeah, so this one's really fun.
We don't have a lot of like boss battlers either.
No, yeah, we don't.
It's kind of like that, so.
Yeah. So the next one we're going to talk about is Sagrada. So I'm sure this one you guys have heard of before. This is really a classic, but you are essentially like...
Another dice game, but different.
Yes, dice game, but you are essentially like creating a stained glass window. And you're trying to get certain like number and color combinations and each number can't touch that same number and it can't touch the same colors, and then you're trying to get different patterns based on what the cards are telling you. So this one's one that actually we had not played until last year.
Yep.
So this one's new to us, and
This was not our first play of it.
Right, this is not our first play of it.
Oh, yeah.
We played it, we actually borrowed it from the library, and we played it from that, and I just loved it. Like, it was just super fun, it was easy, it was something we could just pull out, even when we're watching, like, a movie or something, just as, like, a game to kind of play that's light and very puzzly. I love puzzly games. And so we actually got it, like...
coffee table game.
Yeah, this year,
say, you know.
For Christmas.
Yeah, you'd been looking at it for a while and, like, hoping to find a good deal, and even though this game is, like, 6 or 7 years old... Maybe even more at this point.
It's like never discounted. Yeah.
It's just,
so
yeah.
You're just gonna end up
all it
being
is some dice and cards.
Right.
So, I think Sagrada is quite good. It is a light abstract game. So how good can a game like that really be? I don't know, but it feels like this one kind of has gotten like overshadowed over the years. Even though I know there are like a multitude of variations or expansions or whatever it is, different things like that, you know, like it's certainly popular still, but you don't hear a lot about it anymore, it feels like, compared to at least something like Azul, which is another sort of like light abstract game that I even think came out in the same year. Azul is just like on like lists of different games stuff all the time. You don't hear a lot about Sagrada, but they're fairly equivalent in my mind, and I don't know. As far as coffee table type games, this is one that I, at least for the time being, you know, am pretty excited to whenever we pull it out. So
yeah,
just
good. Fun. It's a good one. All right.
Excited for this one.
Yeah. So next one is Fromage. So this one
that box did not sound good.
Did not sound good. No. So this one we got in November, I think.
Sure.
Or December? I don't know.
End of last year.
End of last year.
This is also probably the newest release game that we played this month. Yeah.
Yes. We love this game. Honestly, we like learned about it from other YouTubers talking about it, and just, you know, it's been like a hot game in general. So the idea is that like you are a cheesemaker, and there's essentially a Lazy Susan type board, and so it's
a wheel of cheese.
Yeah, a wheel of cheese that turns.
Yeah.
And depending on like which section of the board is facing you, you take certain actions. You want to get certain points. The idea is to get the most
points. There's 4 quadrants. It's basically worker placement. You're putting like cheese slices and your little workers out into different things, and each quadrant kind of has its own little like mini game that scores differently.
The unique thing about this is it is worker placement, but you put your worker out and then you don't get them back until that worker is facing you, which I think is very unique and I've never seen before in a game. I love like the coloring and the artwork of this one. I just think it's a very beautiful game, and it's very snappy, honestly. Like we can usually play it in like a half hour. I think we're pretty cool because it says 40 minutes, but I think we play it a little bit faster than that.
Yeah, we have to think sometimes, you know.
Yeah. But it's pretty quick, and I feel like there's a lot of strategy for a game that is a little bit faster of a game. And it's so, I feel like I still don't like quite have down the strategy of it. Like, when to bring your people back.
Won all the plays of this.
Yes. I don't think I've won yet.
Yeah. Which is probably like
which honestly I don't even care.
Plays.
Like, I still have just loved this game. Yeah.
One of the reasons it's snappy is because it's simultaneous play.
Yes.
So like both people, whatever quadrant you have the freedom to, you know, put your workers out in that undisturbed, so the turn order factor doesn't really matter. It's simultaneous. And also another hot take here, even though I do really like this game, I think maybe that's something in board games that I don't love as much as it seems like the average player does. Like
simultaneous play?
Yeah, like that seems like, again, it's a really like hot highlight for a lot of people when they hear that about the game. It like really attracts them to it. And like in theory, it makes sense to me, and maybe that was part of even what got me hyped for this one, was hearing that. But I feel like I'm learning about myself as we play some more different ones like that I don't know that I actually enjoy those experiences a ton either, because like the snappiness is nice, but I it's almost like it turns it into like a solitaire type game.
Yeah, you're not really paying attention to what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Except in this one, like, I get so annoyed when your little person is covering the spaces I want it to go.
That's fair.
And I don't realize it until, like, it comes back around to me, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you still here?
Yeah.
Your person should be off. Or you covered that space. Why did you do that?
I think you like solitaire games a lot, though, in
Yeah.
general. Besides roll and rides, even something like Arc Nova is like fairly solitary. You just have kind of like your own personal board.
I just love puzzly games where I'm trying to like,
right.
I don't know, essentially beat myself almost too.
Yes. Yeah. I like more, like board gaming for like the other player dynamics and, usually worker placement games, which this is basically a whole huge aspect of worker placement is blocking places from other people, like looking at where they might want to go and like getting there ahead of them, right? Or that the sort of timing of like who can be the first person to do these things, and your place got taken, so you need to come up with a backup plan and maybe like divert your strategy, and without having that like opportunity to focus on what other people's strategies might be in this one. I mean, you can, as it comes around, you kind of see like where which quadrant they're like going more heavy into, but it's not the same, So, but this is good. We need to play it more still. I don't know exactly where it would land for me, but it's one that really I'm pretty excited about, and I do even like the look and the production and everything as well as the gameplay.
Absolutely
cool idea. Cheese game.
Yeah.
Dune Imperium Uprising. So this was a new to us one. Mm-hmm. This game is a re-implementation of the original. Just a few minor tweaks and stuff, I think, as far as I know. We hadn't played the original version either. It's a combination worker placement deck building game, obviously inspired by the Dune franchise, particularly the recent movies. The artwork is characters and the actual actors from the movies and everything like that. The original game is one of the highest rated, like in general. I think it's number 5 or 6 on BGG and has been pretty high up for a long time. So that combined with the fact that just a lot of people I follow like really swear by this game had made me want to try it for quite a while. And actually a friend of ours picked it up like earlier last year, and I'd been like wanting to play with him, but we just haven't been able to get together for a while. So we ended up pulling the trigger eventually. This was definitely more of a like my push for it than Ashley. But I think you liked it like okay when we played it.
Right? Yeah, I liked it okay.
I actually have played it solo since we played it together as well. Basically, if you're playing it only 2-player, you have to use like a third AI type player called a rival to kind of balance it out. It's obviously a game that's better for 3 and 4 players, which that I knew ahead of time, but I didn't realize that you literally had to like alter the rules ahead of time, or I maybe would have held off on getting it, because since we play it primarily 2-player, like 90% of the time, we try not to get too many games in the collection that it's prohibitive for us to be able to even do them. Mm-hmm. And having to run the rival isn't like too bad or anything, but it's not the same as if it was just the two of us playing each other, right?
Right.
So the solo version, though, you just handle 2 rivals, which honestly, that's not that different than just doing the one anyway. So I figured I'd at least try it, because this is a game that like I really, really want to like sometimes I just decide that I'm going to be like into a game, and with all the hype that this one had, and I've also been getting into like the Dune world more myself as well. It made sense. At this point, I don't know like how much I really like it, because it's still pretty new, but I'm definitely into it and wanted to try it more, and also would still be up for trying the original at some point, because I do think there's enough subtle like strategic differences, at least from what I've heard.
Sure.
Yeah, but I would love to get this to the table a little more often.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be up for playing it again. It wasn't a game where like I wanted to run it back right away or anything. And I haven't really been itching to play it again. It was like fine. It was, a solid game. I think like I tend to be very into like certain themes and stuff, and this one's obviously not grabbing me. So, because I'm not really, I've watched part of a Dune movie, but really haven't watched the whole thing. So.
I told you we should check the movies out if we're going to play this, and I don't remember whether we played it first or whether we watched first, but
I want to say we watched first.
Maybe. For a variety of circumstances, though, just she wasn't feeling it, and we didn't end up making it through part 1. So yeah.
Which maybe, also like it takes a lot for me to not make it through a movie, honestly, or to not want to continue a movie.
Well, we're not here to talk about
that's a whole other thing. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it was like fine. It was like. It made sense and stuff, even without knowing Dune. So, I don't know. We'll have to play it again to see how it lands, because we want to put it
Let's play it again before too much more time goes by, and I'll keep soloing it, so then hopefully when we do play it, like, I can handle any questions that come up really easily and, like, manage the rival, like, a lot more smoothly and snappy without having to, like, consult the rules for that and stuff, so.
Yeah, so we'll let you know what we think when we play it again.
Yeah. All right. Now this is a big one. This was our first play of Marvel Champions.
Yeah.
And this has been on our shelf for 2 years, I think.
I think so.
Unplayed. Yeah. So one of our longest shelf of shame games.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to my friend Tony who taught me how to play this, and I was able to bring it back to Ashley.
Yes.
That was a
Thanks,
really good
Tony.
time.
It was very helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
this is one that I have been really wanting to play.
Yes.
I love Marvel. I've been very into Marvel. Ethan's really not into Marvel, so the theme doesn't grab him as much. It's a fantasy flight game.
It's an LCG, just like Arkham Horror, which I adore.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, I thought, especially because he does like Arkham Horror, that he might like this one.
That's true. There's two different ways to approach that, right? Arkham Horror knocks it out of the park, give me more of that, straight into my veins, please. Or there's, I don't possibly have room for another Arkham Horror in my life, which is how I tend to think about it more. It's not even that I thought this game wouldn't be good or anything. It's just I know how I am about card games, coming from a Magic background and stuff, and it just felt like
he goes real hard.
Yeah, a lot of people.
A game.
There is a ton of content for this game. A lot of people have most or all of it when they get into it. They get into it really hard. You know, it's definitely a lifestyle type game, even if it is a little easier to pick up and just play quickly than an Arkham campaign would be or something. It's still it's a big investment, time-wise, energy-wise, mental focus-wise, and money-wise. You know, so I don't know that we're gonna take it to that level. We have the base game, and we actually do have one expansion, the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Galaxy's Most Wanted, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But when we played, we just used the base core set cards. I played as Captain Marvel.
Yep.
I played as Spider-Man. We're able to take Rhino down.
Yes.
So.
And
it's fun.
Yeah,
I
really liked
it.
it.
Yeah.
I think you were really surprised by how much you liked it.
Yeah.
And I also just, I did feel like it was a lot snappier than Arkham, and it felt less of a full out commitment. I like Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like Arkham Horror, but Ethan's just very, very into Arkham Horror. Sure. So, but no, I really liked it. I've actually been really itching to play it since then, and I would love to play the other characters and play the other villains, and so yeah, I've been really itching to play it since then. We played this within the last week, so it was fairly recent actually. Yeah. So I definitely
back
think
to
we'll
back
pull
for
it.
me.
Yeah,
one night with Tony, and then showed you the next day, I think, or maybe there was
Right.
a day in between, something like that. But
Yeah.
That's the main thing you hear about it compared to Arkham, though, is that it is just it's a little easier, but also more importantly, easier to just hand somebody a deck, show them the rules in
Just
5-10 minutes,
yeah.
start playing, and wrap the game up and everything.
Yeah.
So.
I felt I didn't need, and maybe it's also because I have played Arkham too, I didn't feel I needed a whole bunch of directions on the cards, or I had a hard time understanding what the cards did, and things like that. So I felt it was pretty easy to pick up.
Yeah. We played it a little loosey-goosey because I don't think I had everything permanently locked in to use secondhand. So when we come back to this one, I think it would be worth watching a video and making sure we really have it all down, and maybe trying to add more I don't know, module content or something. So.
Yeah, but I was super glad that, Ethan was into this one, because I have been definitely wanting to play it for a long time, and I'm glad that I liked it too, because it has been one that, obviously I've been wanting to play it. It's just one that we kind of got with a whole bunch of other games, and I think we just it's been hard to get Ethan to want to play it because he's so into Arkham too. So it was nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks Tony. Really, thank you.
He's been pushing it
for helping out.
Bit,
Yeah. No, I think we'll play it again, and I'd love to hear if you guys play it, what's your favorite character, or what would you suggest we play next, because we did basically play the base characters that they give us. So
yeah,
cool.
Hopefully it won't sit for another 2 years, but you never know.
It will not.
All right, next up, Grand Austria Hotel. So this is a dice drafting game themed around being, I guess, the butler or waitstaff at a luxury hotel, presumably in Austria. Although I'm not the best with theme stuff usually.
Yeah,
and
so you're
trying to fill their tummies and then fill the beds in your hotel. Send them off to their rooms and basically just do Euro-y good points kind of stuff.
Yes.
This was probably our 4th or 5th time playing this game.
Yeah, we've played it quite a few times.
And I am really liking this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably my highlight of the month, I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe not that particular play was so great, especially because it actually crushed me this time.
Oh, yeah.
But other than Final Girl, which is like one of my absolute favorites, I think looking at all these games, this is probably like my one that I would rate the highest out of the rest of the month.
So we have played this before, but it hasn't been within like the last few months. It's not that we've been playing this for years either. So
yeah, I think we probably played it in like September or something for the first time.
Right. But I do think every time we pull it out, like we just really enjoy it. It also is just like one of those games that just sort of makes sense what you're doing too, and like I don't know, it just feels like it flows very well. And
it's got good crunch without being like a ton to manage on the board.
Yes.
Like it's not that hard to set up. There's not a lot of different moving pieces.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot of strategy.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this last play that we had, like you said, like I did very well. And I feel like I kind of went for different strategy this time where I had like a lot more of the service staff this time. And I think that really paid off. Now would that work every time? I'm not sure, but it's interesting. I like when you can play and use different tactics for games and try different strategies and then try to figure out, you know, is this always a good strategy or do you need to kind of see how the game falls and how it plays out? So
yeah, I don't know if this one actually has as much openness as some games might, and you also are dependent on what dice come up.
Right.
You know, but like there's only so many different actions to choose from. You're always basically following the same sort of path. Yeah.
Right.
But it's more like maybe end game scoring goals that come up that kind of dictate which way to go and everything. Yeah.
So we would highly recommend this one. This one's definitely one that both of us really, really enjoy.
Yep. Very excited to play some more of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
this is the Princess Bride adventure book game.
Yeah, so this is a game that I feel like I never ever hear anybody talk about. So there are 3 that are out currently. So there's a Princess Bride one, there's a Wizard of Oz, and the Lord of the Rings copy. And we actually have all 3 of them.
The Lord of the Rings got talked about a little bit, I think just by virtue of being Lord of the Rings.
Sure. But I do think so this is the original one.
Yep.
The idea is that you are literally playing through a story. So you're playing through, in this one, the Princess Bride book. And it's literally a book, which I think is just so cool.
Yeah, it looks like a pop-up book.
It's literally a book. Yep. And each chapter has different objectives, and it's the chapters of the story that you're doing. So whether it's Princess Bride, Lord of the Rings, whatever.
Playing through the plot of the movie.
Yeah. And so each chapter of the book has different characters that get played and different objectives and different cards that you need to do. And the story gets interrupted if you fail that level. So this is one that it's one that's kind of a little bit more mainstream. You can get it. We got it, I think all of ours at Target.
Yeah.
It's something that I feel like people never ever talk about, and maybe it's just they're not, they kind of assume that it's a lighter game and they wouldn't like it or something.
It is a lighter game.
It is definitely
It's not rated well. I mean, it's not the most thinky, deep strategy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's cool thematically.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
It's also
this was another one of our very early games.
Yes. Yeah, we've had this a long time.
We've played through it many times.
Yeah, but it's one that it doesn't matter how many times we pull it out, we just enjoy it. And the nice thing is that you can play through the entire book at once if you want, or you can sort of just finish a chapter and be like, all right, we're going to leave off here. And you can even just leave the game there and then come back to it. We did that recently. We played a chapter and then we got tired and we're like, all right, we'll come back to it in, a week or so.
But the whole thing at once wouldn't take that long either.
No,
you're looking at maybe 90 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Cool. Yeah. Another cool thing about it is that there are characters from the movie, right? But it's not as if I'm playing Wesley and you're playing Buttercup, or you're playing Inigo and I'm playing Fezzik or something. They're all on the board, and it's you have the start of your turn, you can move any combination of characters up to 2 spaces, right? So we're all controlling them, or we're all it's cooperative, right? We're working towards the same objectives and stuff.
But normally cooperative, like you said, it's each person has a character, and we're literally playing as every character. So you can play this solo too, and I think there's not even an alteration in the rules. I've never tried to play it. I think actually I have played it solo. But
it says 1 to 4 right on the box, and there's definitely it's not complicated enough to have a solo mode.
Right.
So yeah.
You would just literally play all the characters like we do. When there's 6 characters on the board, we play all 6 characters. So it's just a matter of what character needs their objective to be done first. And so we just sort of focus on those characters first to obtain that.
Yeah. So it's a classic for us.
Mm-hmm.
I still think of it pretty highly, even as we've grown as gamers and stuff. I can definitely see why a lot of gamers like this wouldn't appeal to them. It just wouldn't give them enough. But it has that nostalgia for us.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And this is the one I feel the most attached to out of the three, even though like I am a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and that one definitely like ramps it up to at least have like a little bit more going on.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit meatier of an experience. I think we only played through that one like maybe 1.5 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This one just does something good for us.
Yeah. It's great. It's, and it's something that like, it feels like we're like reading a story together too, which is cool. Yeah. So it's kind of like, we both love books, we both love reading. So it's like, it kind of combines two of our hobbies together, which is really great. So yeah,
recommend.
We do highly recommend this one. This one's really good, actually.
All right. So you get to take this one, Ash, because you had been really
I need you to describe this one.
Okay.
I can try.
Well, so Distilled. This is a game where you are brewing liquor and spirits, distilling it, I guess I should say.
Yes.
So you play as a distillery owner, where you can make like upgrades to your equipment and stuff like that, and you can learn to do new recipes. Every person has a signature recipe that rewards them with like extra points if they can pull the signature recipe off. But essentially you're spending your turn buying different ingredients, upgrades, or like bottles and barrels to make or sell the liquor in. And then there's a push your luck element where you have to insert all of those ingredients into a stack of cards, shuffle it up, and then remove the top and the bottom card from the deck and kind of see what ingredients you're left up with and whether you're able to actually complete the recipe that you were trying to do.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Which is very like, it's one of those games that just like makes sense with the theme, and it's very, very themey. And we're both not really drinkers either.
Yeah.
So
this was another one that we'd heard a lot of hype about, and I felt kind of like it was fine.
Oh, see, I loved it.
I know it hit really big for you.
It did.
I'm not trying to say anything against it. I definitely want to try playing it more.
We need to play. We've literally played it once.
Yet. To me, it was like, that was a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played it once. Immediately, I wanted to run it back, and he just didn't want to. So we definitely are going to play it again very soon. Also, the insert is amazing. Like, it's got layers, and like everything's got its own space and everything, and
I agree. Like, if you
the
see,
insert is gorgeous.
Like, this is a pretty thick, big box. Obviously not like Gloomhaven level big or anything, but everything fits into the box really nicely for sure.
Yes, they even like use the punch outs. They tell you to put the punch outs underneath all of the inserts to take the space out from the top of the box.
So if you want to do like a big production like this, like that's the way to do it. Like other games, like please take note. That being said, I do think maybe there's a little more to it than there would need to be, just to kind of give it that like Kickstarter oomph or something,
Possibly.
Like the backs could maybe be like an inch shorter and have like slightly less organization because there just isn't as much like going on there.
Sure.
But for what it is, absolutely beautiful production.
Beautiful.
And we love nice organization.
Yes, we really, really appreciate that. I really loved this game. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was very unique with the like taking the top and the bottom card out and shuffling them. It was a different like way to have luck, like to have the chance of luck, and trying to strategize like, okay, how many cards do I need in there to make it so that it works out for me was really interesting.
Right. If you want to guarantee that what you need gets left in the stack after you remove 2 cards, you could just add 2 extra copies of something.
Right.
Yeah. Versus
So that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that aspect. And I think it took me a minute to understand because Ethan learned it and taught me the game. So I think it took me a minute to understand like how that functioned. And then once I kind of got it, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand like how to sort of make sure that I'm getting what I'm looking for and to like prioritize which types of liquors do you want to go for. Because there is like a limited number of some of them. So
I can imagine it might be hard, or it might be better strategy to actually push your luck sometimes though and not make sure it's always a guarantee, just because then you're having to not invest as many resources into like getting those like extra safety like padding cards and you could like put those into something else and just like hope that it works out, and maybe that would like really level up your score if you're just able to be more efficient and less safe. But yeah, otherwise I don't have much to add gameplay wise. We need to try it more.
Yeah, we definitely need to try it again. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing it again.
We're running out of room.
We'll just put it off the side.
Last one.
Yes.
So, New York Zoo.
Yes. So
this is actually an Uwe Rosenberg game.
It is.
In fact, the only one that we own.
Yes.
And not a very traditional one. It has polyominoes, which is a big thing with him. But it's definitely not like a worker placement game. It's definitely not like a super heavy dry Euro or anything like that. But Ashley also really adores this one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes, I love this game. So this is a game that, again, like I kind of feel like didn't get very much hype when it came out. It wasn't
I don't know when it did come out. 2020 it says.
Yeah. So, I feel like, I don't know, it just wasn't really that popular, and yeah. But I really, really like this one. So the idea is you are building a zoo, and you have different tiles you're trying to place that are different enclosures. Then you've got different animals that you're placing into those enclosures. And then the animals, when you have at least 2 of them in there, they breed like animals do. And you want to fill the enclosures up, and then when you fill them up, you can get an attraction when it fills. So you can put like a roller coaster or some sort of carousel or something inside your park. And the idea is to fill your entire park. Yeah. And whoever does that first wins.
I do like that about it. There's no point system or anything. It's essentially just like cover all your spaces first.
Yeah, and it's nice. Very puzzly because you have to like, you can't overlap them. You have to get them exact. And so you have to kind of plan out like, when do you want to fill an animal enclosure, or what size do you want, or how well will they fit together. So yeah, so I really enjoy this one a lot. It's one that we've played.
I like it pretty well. I do really like all the animal meeples.
Yes, they're super cute. Yeah.
But I don't know why one of them didn't get to be like front cover on the box. That seems unfair. Because there's 5 different types of meeples, but only 4 showcased there. That's always kind of bugged me. But
he's on the side, that's why.
Okay. Well, feels like they should be more inclusive. Let them join the party.
Well, anyway, no, this is one that like we really enjoy. It's also pretty like fast and easy to play, and I also think it's very easy to explain to people who are like non-gamers too. It's not that hard of a concept. You're just going and like grabbing different enclosures, and then you're putting animals in it.
Except for like the moving the animals around and the breeding stuff. There are some weird finicky rules about like, yeah.
But I think that like explaining it has been pretty easy when we have explained it to people.
Sure. I think you probably wish that we played this one and then hit the table like a lot more often.
And we play it pretty often.
It's a once in a while for me kind of thing. But I do like that it's pretty pure, like polyomino, and the ability to kind of like move around this track and choose which piece you want within a given distance allows for some good like counterplay and blocking.
Right.
At least a 2-player when we do it, I can kind of see like, oh, that piece would fit right there for Ashley, and like try to grab it ahead of her and everything, which I think has actually been my like main strategy lately that's been paying off. So
yes, he's beat me the last couple of times. It's been terrible.
Yeah.
And it is 1 to 5 players, so you can play it solo, and I do believe I have played this one solo, which is still fun, but I do think it's fun to like have other people playing with you, and like you can't necessarily breed every single animal, so you kind of have to see like how do you get them fast enough to like hit that breeding cycle.
With more players, there's also a race element to try and get the biggest attraction tiles that will cover up the most places. So
yes, the attractions sort of like, well, start bigger, which you obviously want the bigger ones first because they cover more, and then kind of go to just 1x1s, which like obviously if you have only 1x1s, it's going to take a really, really long time. So yeah, so we really enjoy this one, and yeah, it's one that we would recommend.
So that concludes our January recap.
Yes.
We plan to keep up with these. Let us know how you like them. This one got a little away from us time-wise. We didn't think it would run that long, but talking about games is fun.
Yes.
So we'll see what we can do next time to kind of like keep it a little more brisk for you guys.
So question, are we gonna, like let's say we play one of these again, if we've already covered it, are we gonna do it again, or are we gonna leave it out next time? Maybe just mention that we covered it.
It's been checked off already.
Okay.
You know, like we don't need to cover them twice, but We could think about some other kind of video to be doing, because some of these we talked about, you know, it was a first play, or we wanted to try different characters from Marvel Champions and stuff
True.
like that. And so, like, if we were able to get those to the table more and they develop for us and progress, you know, I'm sure in some ways you'll get an update about that. But
Yeah.
now the point of these is, you know, how many out of our 135 Play Your Shelves 2025 challenge have we done in total? So far, 1 month in, 16. Off to a good start.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching today, everyone.
Yep. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe and join our community of fellow board gamers. Check out, again, our Play Your Shelves challenge video.
We'll also link the Excel sheet in the comments below, so that way you can see where.
I guess we will.
Yes, we'll link it again in the comments below, so you can see where our Excel sheet is currently. We did add some more for February already, so keep up and see, you know, where we're at and how we're doing, and cheer us on as we're going.
Sounds good.
See you next time. Game on.
Game on.